Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to another round of the LMGT3 Challenge brought to you by Driven Minds and Driveline Media. My name is Max Ring, and alongside me is Mr. Joesph Black. But today, Joesph, it's finale day, and the title is still on the line.
It certainly is, and with a double points weekend coming up, we have a lot up for grabs. I believe there was 3 separate drivers that could take the title this evening, stewarding pending, and so I'm very, very much looking forward to it. We have 2 races this evening, one around a mini circuit, a second around the full course circuit of one of the circuits around the world, and yeah, it should be a very good evening.
Yes, it certainly should be. We're here at Sebring. We'll be doing the school circuit in race 1. And then for race 2, we'll be doing the full World Endurance Championship 12-hour of Sebring track. Very unique and very iconic circuit indeed. Those 3 drivers that Joesph did mention that are still in championship contention are Zoltan Varkonyi, of course, the man leading the championship. And I think if he can win this first race, he'll still be our provisional champion. If you want to find out who does become the champion officially, wait until Wednesday when we announce it. The WSC stream. Then Alistair Ramsey in second. He is lining up a potential opportunity, not one all season long. Could this be the time he finally gets gold and claims that championship? And then finally, it is the Dutchman, Hendrik de Vries. He has been very up and down with form all season, hasn't he, Joesph? And he's still in that championship picture. I think both him and Ramsey, compared to Varkonyi, are really just long shots for this championship.
Yeah, it feels that way, especially with Varkonyi's dominance early on in this season. Of course, he's had the opportunity to seal the title in a couple of rounds now. I believe last round he needed to win both races, but he's still worked himself into positions where he could have won the title, and he is certainly the hot favourite heading into the evening.
Yes, he certainly is the hot favourite for Varkonyi, the Hungarian who has won a majority of the races this season. Be looking to try and take another one here this evening. But let's head over trackside now to see qualifying about to get underway. Of course, if you're new here for this finale, it is 5 minutes of hyperpole qualifying for both races before we head into a 30-minute race for both of them. So it's quali, race in that order. So, I mean, it's going to be tricky here, Joesph. A very difficult and bumpy circuit. And with the difference between having the longer circuit and the shorter circuit in one evening, it makes things a bit more difficult on which one you practiced more.
Yeah, I mean, the way you'd set up for these rounds normally is you would just generally do the whole circuit as you practice and as you go. And of course, at some circuits, for example, Le Mans, which we opened our season with, it can get very, very difficult with all these with it being an incredibly long circuit. With the school circuit as well as the main circuit, though, around Sebring, it's a completely different challenge. It's a completely different circuit, and it should make it very interesting for the drivers, especially those who have not had as much time to practice, and so they will have to work their way up from the back.
Yes, they certainly will have to. This is where things get a little bit tense for these drivers. We'll have to see what they can deal with. Now, quickly about the ballast. Hendrik de Vries, the 3 championship leaders have all got ballast. It is in reverse championship order. So it's De Vries with 45 kilos in his Aston Martin, followed by Ramsey with 39. It's then Zoltan Varkonyi with 34. And then it's Davide Vattel with 21 kilos. And Dan Birch, his first time in the top 5 all season long with 8. That McLaren really coming alive over the past few rounds of the season. But we're on board with Zoltan Varkonyi, and the championship leader has already made a mistake in qualifying here, Joesph. He has had a half spin out of turn 1. Luckily, we'll have enough time to go again at the very least, maybe 2 more laps. But that's an early mistake from the Hungarian.
Yeah, certainly not ideal for Zoltan Varkonyi, as he just tries to Well, it's certainly not a good start to his qualifying session at all. But what is a good start to his qualifying session is the fact that he currently sits on that provisional pole position of 104.757, and he's 6 tenths ahead of Dan Birch. But never mind, Jordan 40 goes up to the top of the field.
Yes, nicely done there from Jordan 40. Alistair Ramsey is coming through the final corner now as well. One of the men fighting for this championship. Can he put himself to the top of the times now? Up to the line he goes. Where does this lap place Alistair Ramsey? Only 4 fastest, but De Vries now goes to the top of the times. Look how close these times are. 12 thousandths separating the top 2, 300ths separating the top 3 as De Vries then goes wide a little bit later on. We'll have enough time to go again though. But this is what short circuit qualifying is all about here, Joesph. Those small 1 to 2 thousandths of a second could be the difference between pole and potentially being off the front row of the grid.
Yeah, and Jordan 40 at the moment, 0.012 off that pole position time. So as you mentioned, that is incredibly close. And we have 3 drivers within 4 tenths of a second of each other. And we have 1 minute 29 left in this qualifying session. So still time to stake their claim for the top. And, well, Jordan 40, he's certainly staked his claim. He's gone 2.5 tenths quicker than Hendrik De Vries. He's eked out a quarter of a second.
That's lovely stuff there from Jordan 40. Here comes Hendrik De Vries to the line. What can he do? Can he reclaim his bid for pole as Davide goes into second? Here comes the Aston Martin of De Vries. Of course, he went wide, and no, he has not got it just yet. Zoltan Fakonyi, which is a little bit further back as he now crosses the line. And look at that from the Hungarian. 7 tenths clear of Jordan 40. A beautiful lap time from Zoltan Fakonyi, who made a slight error earlier on and goes a little bit wide there too. But a spectacular lap from the Hungarian, what we've seen from him all season long. But drivers still setting lap times here, Joesph.
Yes, they certainly are, but I don't think anybody is able to match, let alone exceed what Zoltan Fakonyi's just achieved. A 103.696, which is almost 8 tenths of a second ahead of Jordan 40 in that second place, and almost a second ahead of Davide Vasole in that third place, with 17 seconds left in this qualifying session. I think that may well be it done and dusted. Hendrik De Vries is still on the circuit, and he's going to have one last attempt at a lap to see if he's able to snatch this pole position away.
Yes, here comes De Vries then up to the line. Will it be enough as 40 go? No, that's Ramsey up into third, sorry. Hendrik De Vries up into fourth, but it will be Zoltan Fakonyi, your championship leader, who will surely take this pole position. I don't think anyone's going to be close enough as they're all heading up to the line now. And we've only got Eero Vazuri up to the line. The man, of course, that drives in VR. So he should have, of course, a lot more of a feel for the circuit using his eyes as well. But be down currently 12th fastest, crosses the line. Where does he go? He does promote himself up into 11th. But a dream start for your championship leader here, Joesph. Exactly what he would have wanted. And this is how you stake your claim for the title.
It certainly is. And Zoltan Fakonyi, he's demonstrated a pace dominance pretty much this whole year round, and it's just been about converting it in the races, which you're going to have to keep an eye on. I'm certainly going to keep a very close eye on Zoltan. Is he going to dominate some of these races like he has done before, or is it going to be a completely different scenario? Is he going to be off of the field, or, well, he's going to be ahead of the field on pace, but is he going to be off of the circuit, making mistakes and just dropping off as his championship fight comes to a close? And it will all come to a close this evening. We have our final 2 rounds, the final opportunities for the drivers to show what they can do, and a 3-way battle, which sees Zoltan Fakonyi up at the top of the times.
Yes, it certainly does indeed. Now we have to just wait 1 minute and 20 seconds till we get back underway. So let's quickly bring us guys back onto screen very, very quickly indeed. Waiting on the drivers ready for the command, but Zoltan Fakonyi certainly doing everything he can for the title here, Joesph. Of course, if he wins this first race, he will be the provisional champion. Do you think he can get this done?
I think he may well be able to. The pace advantage that he's demonstrated, if he can get that on the run down to the first corner, then I think he will be absolutely fine, because his issue has not been his pace. Whenever he gets ahead, he stays ahead typically, and it's just about that initial getting ahead moment and that initial getting down to that first corner. This is going to be a very, very important run down to the first corner for Zoltan Vakonyi, which could potentially decide his championship. Of course, we're not going to announce anything tonight. We're going to keep this one going. But if Zoltan does take this victory, if he maintains that into race 2, then he should have a great opportunity at taking the title. This double points round has really closed things up, made things very interesting at the top, and we are ready for that green light.
Yes, we certainly are. Your grid quickly is as follows. It's Zoltan Vakonyi on the front row from Jordan 40, Alistair Ramsey and Hendrik de Vries on row 2. Row 3 is Davide and Dan Wilson, followed by row 5 being Franklin Stegnick and Dan Birch. Then we've got Sebastian Borgson and Jorge Perito rounding out the top 10. Then we've got Gary Barnum and Eero Fazuri in 11th and 12th. 13th and 14th is Willems and Coma. Then we have 15th and 16th is Max Emilio Ferrari and Craig Starkey. And then finally we have Matt Fordham in 17th, Robert Pure in 18th. Drivers are now just getting ready to get underway here for the racing action this evening. Zoltan Vakonyi will be the driver that will lead us to the green flags. Will he, though, be able to hold on to that into turn 1 as they slowly trundle their way to that start-finish line, waiting for the green flag command? When does it wave and when do we go racing here in Sebring? And we're underway here for race 1 on the shorter circuit here in Sebring. It's a good start from Zoltan Vakonyi, who's been able to hold on to that inside line, but it will be Jordan 40 who will try to swoop it through turn 1. But he's got Ramsey fighting back to the left-hand side. It's nicely done from the driver, fighting to keep his championship alive. Same with Hendrik de Vries as well, able to hold on, move up in front of Jordan 42. But Zoltan Vakonyi leads the way here in Sebring, and it's a dream getaway from the Hungarian.
It certainly is, but there's battle going on a little bit further back. Jordan 40 having to defend hard, having made the position up on Davide Fasole. And 45 now moves into 3rd place and on to that podium as he makes his way ahead. Hendrik de Vries dropping a couple of, well, he dropped a little bit of momentum at the start. He was incredibly close behind, but Zoltan Vakonyi opening up that gap that he so sorely desired. Looking a little bit further back, and it's Franklin Stegnick on the inside line of Dan Birch. Is he able to get this one done? No, but the battle for 7th place is very much truly on, and well, he wants to get past Dan Wilson as we head to the end of this first lap.
Yes, lap 1 is now in the books, and it's still for Zoltan Vakonyi leading the way. He's got a 9/10 advantage over his fellow Aston Martin championship rival of Alistair Ramsey. Stegnick not able to get past Dan Wilson just yet, but now he's under pressure from Dan Birch. He's in a Dan sandwich at the minute, is the BMW of Franklin Stegnick. So as we then head through the next left-hander and then slamming it onto the brakes into the right. Very easy to understeer wide through here. Then as we exit out onto the back straight, Vakonyi not gaining as much time over Ramsey this time around. Is anyone going to be close enough for a move throughout the field here potentially? Have to wait and see as there's a little move further back. I think that could be Craig Starkey now looking for a move. No, it's not. It's Eero Fazuri looking for the move on Mark Corner. Is he going to get the move done in the BMW? To the inside he goes, and will Starkey potentially follow him through?
He may well do. We're going to have to wait and see as to whether Craig Stark is able to get this move done, and it's looking potentially promising as they head side by side down to the first corner under the Krypton barrier and down to said first corner on the racetrack. Can he get through? It's going to be Starkey ahead of Willems, and he moves up into that 14th place. There is only 16 cars on the field at the moment, as is customary with the season finale. You never get the best attendance, but that doesn't stop the fighting as Jorge Prieto is fighting away further up the field.
Yeah, there was also just a big crash just then between Sebastian Borgensen and Gary Barnum. They're off the road at turn 2. As we look back at this battle between Perito and Eero Fazuri and co. Many drivers all across the road exiting onto the back straight. It's Starkey going off in the background. Is anyone going to go for the move up into the final corner. That is going to be the question as Vazuri hunts down the back of Jorge Perito. He's up he's up 1 place from where he started. Is Vazuri. Is just behind him is Mark Kona. Not able to get the move done though. Is the BMW. But it's still all to play for, of course. We're only 3.5 minutes into this race, so anything can still happen, and there could potentially be that scrap on between Dan Birch and Franklin Stegner. There's a yellow flag somewhere on the road, and it's for Chris Williams, who's gone straight on at the final corner.
That's certainly not ideal for Chris Williams, as he's now actually, I believe he's just dropped out of the race. Indeed, he has. That is our first DNF of the evening's action, and it comes for Chris Williams, who's not had the greatest of starts. It's fair to say Dan Birch all over the back of Franklin Stegging, who made his way through, and Birch, who's looking to strike right back as they head down. Well, it's not the main straight, but it's sort of the back straight. It's where the pit is, so it's, I guess you could call it the pit straight, as Birch continues in the back, right in behind the BMW, but the McLaren not quite close enough to make a move.
No, not close enough just yet, but Dan Birch in this latter half of the season certainly has come alive in that McLaren since that tyre update. It's done something to the balances in the background. That's Craig Starkey who's gone round for a spin at the final corner. Dan Birch is still just stuck behind that BMW, and for Starkey, he's come out unscathed. Luckily it was just a spin, but that's the difficult part about this circuit, isn't it, Joesph? That it's so bumpy that if you just divert a little bit offline, or you turn in a little bit too early, or maybe taking a bit more speed than you did last time around, the car can easily pendulum round on you.
It certainly can. It's very tricky, especially with a lot of these medium speed corners that we have on our hands around the shorter circuit, the shorter layout of Sebring. You can just drop the rear very, very easily as Hendrik de Vries makes his way past Davide Fasole as they head down the main straight. I want to turn the attention to Zoltan Verkonyi. He's not quite open up the gap as much as he would have liked to. He's 1.1 ahead of Alistair Ramsey, so he's still within range. And with 24 minutes of this race left, that could get closed in. Jordan 40 as well, not too far behind Ramsey. And if they can work together effectively as a team, they could make their way right back up to Verkonyi, and they're showing that they've got similar pace.
They certainly are indeed, as de Vries goes a little bit wide, trying to hunt down Davide. Davide trying to hunt down de Vries, and at the moment, nothing being done for the BMW. It's the same sort of story we saw in Belgium and also last time out in Monza. Davide has some good pace compared to the rest of the field, but when it comes to the likes of de Vries, Ramsey and Verkonyi, all in those Aston Martins, it just doesn't seem to be fast enough to hang with them, unlike other drivers we have seen. But unfortunately, he's just dropping that little bit further back. But yes, Verkonyi, he did say in his interview last week he is not he's not as strong around the school circuit than the main circuit, the full layout. So we could see Verkonyi slightly struggle in this race, but in race 2 we should see a full strength Zoltan Verkonyi try and fight back in this one, as I think Matt Fordham is also retired. Oh no, he's not retired, sorry. In this one, battles happening all throughout the field, and Dan Wilson could actually be looking to be the next driver to get past Davide. That switch to BMW working like a treat so far for him.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it is, as the BMWs and the Aston Martins are so incredibly fast in this championship. And Wilson all over the back of Davide Fasole. It's going to be BMW versus BMW for this 5th place, but the top 4 all are Aston Martins, as has been customary throughout the entire series. The BMW is looking to challenge the Lexi as well. I don't know if that's the plural of Lexus, but the Lexi involving Robert Pure especially, who was the leader in that car. It has not quite been as close to the Aston Martin as they would have liked, but it's certainly not been a bad challenger, and it's probably been the best challenger of the lot. But the BMWs now have an opportunity to provide a similar chance, and Dan Wilson at the moment looking to fight for the lead of the BMWs against Davide Fasole, chasing him down at the back straight. They go one more time, or down the main straight even, they go one more time, and Wilson still sticking in behind for now.
Yes, something must have happened as well to Dan Birch. He's in the pit lane, unfortunately for him. And I don't know if he's come into contact with somebody, but he's into the pits. Unfortunate there for the McLaren of Dan Birch as de Vries runs a little bit wide out of turn 2. That could put him on the back foot potentially for the rest of this next middle sector. As Verconyi's extended that gap up at the front of the field ever so slightly. But the two BMWs of Davide and Dan now will be scrapping over this 5th place on the road. And Dan Wilson hasn't been this high all season long. He's been struggling in that Aston Martin at the back. And now he's made that switch to BMW. He's probably regretting that he didn't do it sooner here, Joesph. I know we just spoke about how he's taken to that BMW quite nicely. But when you're fighting for a championship and even fighting for positions further down the championship, every single result and point matters. So he could have been further up the order and maybe potentially battling for potential podiums a little bit earlier on in the season. Made this switch just maybe a couple rounds early.
Yeah, but maybe he was trying to get used to the car. So there's swings and roundabouts to this debate as Sebastian Borgerson makes his way past Mark Kerner. Speaking of people who committed very hard to their car, and well, Sebastian Borgerson is the perfect example. He has stuck with the Ferrari all season long. It's not the quickest car by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he just has fun driving the car, and that can bring you significant benefits, not only pace-wise, but of course enjoyment-wise as well, which is the most important thing. But when he's driving that Ferrari, it's just, he must just enjoy it so much more, and that is absolutely fine, because it's tricky to drive a car that you don't like. And at the moment, Sebastian Borgerson is absolutely loving this Ferrari, as he always is. And he stays racing it as Dan Wilson chasing down Davide Fasole back to the battle for that 5th place even. And Fasole struggling a little bit with lag, so Wilson might find it a little bit trickier to get past.
Yeah, he might find it a little bit more tricky, but it's all about driver comfortability, really. That's why we see the likes of Borgenson staying in that Ferrari. If that's your quickest car, you might as well stay in it, even if it is not one of the strongest. Davide went a little bit wide there through turn 2. This might allow Dan Wilson to get the run through the next couple of corners. Maybe make his way finally past his BMW compatriot. Of course, these two are the BMWs with a very similar straight line speed. It will all come down to car setup, not overall chassis. And it just seems here, Joesph, that Wilson is a little bit lagging compared to Fasole off that corner up this back straight. And it just isn't close enough into the final corner to make the move. And then out of the final corner, a bit like the one before this one, where onto the back straight, where then onto the front stretch. Again, he's just lagging that little bit further back than Fasole.
Yeah, just that little bit further back. He can't quite get close enough, and he continues in behind as we are 19. We have 19 minutes left in the session. We've just gone over our 11-minute mark. And it's been an interesting one to watch, mostly for the battles in the middle order, as Zoltan Verconyi extends his lead at the top. It's now up to 3 seconds, so the pace that Alistair Ramsey had to match him has been exceeded, and this has been the story of Zoltan Verconyi's season, really, where he's just had that extra little, say, 1/10 of a second at the start, and then it turns into 2/10, and then it turns into 3/10, as he's just able to keep those lap times consistent regardless of the point of the race that he's at. Whereas the likes of Alistair Ramsey, Jordan Forty, Henrik de Vries may well have the initial pace and able to get ahead and defend, but if Verconyi is let loose, then he's going to absolutely fly away, and that has been the difference throughout the entire championship. Dan Wilson looking for a move on Fasole on the outside, but yeah, just not quite able to get through, but he might open up the inside line on the exit of the corner. Is Wilson able to squeeze through? No, Fasole gets the run out of the final one. He prioritised getting the run out of the corner instead of the run in, and that is why he was able to hold onto the lead of it. Wilson looking to that inside once again, but Fasole just opening up the corner, driving incredibly well just by himself, and well, he can just continue to drive for himself, and Dan Wilson is going to have to force a way through.
Yes, he certainly will, but that was a good effort there from Wilson. Unlike what we said just a lap prior, he did get a good run out of that corner onto the back straight, the penultimate corner of this circuit. And once again, look at that, just trying to get the drive out the corner. Faso a lot better out of there this time around. A flash of the lights to try and distract and show the intention that Wilson wants to get by his fellow BMW as we head up into the final corner. Now he's looking to the inside, just ducks back to the racing line before we touch the brakes and then head through the final corner. You can see a much tighter line from Wilson compared to Faso, and that is really potentially just affecting his run that little bit more out the corner, not able to generate more speed on corner exit, and that's just why he's lagging that little bit too far back to go for the move into turn 1. He likes those tighter lines, but they do not help him in the long run when it comes to trying to get this move done. We'll just have to sit behind once now, again for now once more, as this is the closest battle on the circuit.
It certainly is, and it has remained that for the last couple of laps now, as they're just close together, and it feels like one where Dan Wilson is not squandering the opportunities he creates, but the opportunities that he creates are not big enough for him to open up a gap on Fasole, and he is chasing him down the straight one more time, of course. And of course, I think, as is customary, if Fasole is going to hold on to the position, Wilson though might open up the inside line, but not quite, and he will stay in that slipstream for the time being, and in 6th place for the time being. And never mind, he's gone straight on. Dan Wilson has gone straight into the barrier, and that puts pay to his battle with not only Davide Fasole, but surely for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I think he's going to be coming into pit lane. I wouldn't be surprised if that will be a retirement potentially from Dan Wilson as he stopped on the side of the road. And yes, I do think this is going to be our third DNF of the race, sorry. Wilson and Birch, who are both having really good races until their untimely demise. Unfortunately, now both out of the race. A really uncharacteristic mistake there from Dan Wilson, which unfortunately trying to put that pressure on, crumbled under the pressure. He puts him on himself potentially to get that move done, and Faso was able to stay in front. No real battles really heading out onto the circuit. The only real one you could potentially say now after that incident for Wilson is Borgenson versus Craig Starkey. Ferrari tries to hunt down the Porsche. Of course, Starkey making that move from the Aston Martin to the Porsche. It's going to be working into his favour though. Currently lying in 9th place. We'll see if he can make any inroads on Jorge Prieto out in front.
Yes, he's going to try to, as Jorge Prieto has been one of those cases so far this season. It feels like every single time we look at him, he seems to have decent pace, but he's not quite got the pace to be up there with the top pack, and it's been certainly an interesting one to watch. He has, though, been probably the quickest of the Ferraris, especially in this race, with Borgerson down in 10th place and Prieto up in 8th. And those are the only 2 Ferraris, I believe, in this session, as everybody else has gone for the meta cars of BMWs as what has happened.
Oh, Craig Starkey has just spun out in front of Sebastian Borgenson under all sorts of pressure from the Ferrari. And he has unfortunately crumbled heading into turn 1, where we saw Zoltan have a half spin in qualifying. Starkey has done the same. It's just such a tricky corner to get right. The car's constantly bumping. You're going in there at such high speeds, just flicking the car in, that just a millimetre offline can see you going rounds, and it's just such a difficult corner to get right. There's no real braking marker either for turn 1, so difficult to get right in the best of times. And unfortunately for Starkey, been caught napping and spun round, but stays in 10th place because he has a big gap over Mark Coma behind.
Yeah, he does. It feels like the top few, or the top 10, have split away from the rest of the field, and everybody else is just trying to close in. It's Mark Kerner, Max Ferrari, and Gary Barham who just dropped off the field. It's interesting to see Gary Barham that far back. There must have been something that went wrong for the BMW at some point, because he has had decent pace throughout the season that we've just had. And yeah, it just feels a bit interesting for Gary Barham to be all the way down the bottom of the field, because usually you'd expect him up the top, but or up at least in the mid-pack. But Gary Barham at the moment not quite demonstrating the pace that he's had the whole season. I think he's going to want to end it off in race 2 in very, very good fashion. Of course, he's still got 12 minutes of race 1, and I would say that he's getting himself warmed up to the circuit, but it's a whole new one. Or not a whole new one, but it's a whole new experience in race 2.
Oh yeah, the race 2, the main circuit is a completely different ball game, a completely different challenge than the school. Of course, you head off to the back part of the track, many a different corner through there, and a lot of blind apexes, which make it a very fun but difficult drive around a circuit like Sebring, and the bumps get worse and more intense out the back of the track. But Zoltan leading the way out in front. He's built that gap up to over 7.4 seconds over Alistair Ramsey behind, and is currently on track to be your provisional champion after this race. He needed to win it to cement himself, or at least beat Ramsey, sorry, should I say, to cement himself as the provisional champion, and that certainly he will be doing. Heading into turn 1. Sorry, into turn 2 now is Zoltan with Ramsey now heading through turn 1. Again, this is just the story of the season, isn't it, Joesph? Verconyi gets out in front, he builds that massive gap, and just no one's able to touch him. And he's just been the class of the field, and really the driver that's deserved this title if he's able to hold on to this.
Yeah, it really is. He has driven exceptionally well all season long, and if the title does head his way, it would be entirely fully deserved. It's going to be a difficult interview at the end of the race, I think, because mathematically he may well have sealed it, as well, physically he has not quite yet, and he will not quite yet until Wednesday, so make sure to stick around on here on GRDC TV for that. Give us a subscribe, and well, make sure to join Max and Ben Sapsford on Wednesday for that, as well, I'm taking my leave. I'm skiving off, as it were, but Mark Kerner has managed to make his way through on I believe that is, yeah, it's Max Ferrari in the meantime. Max went incredibly wide, and Mark Kerner just taking the opportunity to find his way through, and now he is up into that 11th place.
Yeah, oh, there's a little contact between the pair actually as we exit out onto the back straight, and Ferrari back past Kona as we now head down into the final corner. In the background there is Gary Barnum, and that's Zoltan Verconyi nearly lapping these guys up in front of him. It is. So, Zoltan Verconyi, for the first time this season, we could see a little bit of traffic come into play on pure pace alone. So, for Zoltan Verconyi, we'll have to see what he can do. And Hendrik de Vries here as well, Joesph, really has caught up to the back of Jordan 40. That gap was about 3 seconds, I'd say about 10 minutes ago. So he's really brought that gap down and potentially be staring at a potential podium at the end of this race.
He could be. Hendrik de Vries closing in on Jordan 40, and once you get that momentum going, it's hard to get it to stop, and well, he's done very well at the moment to get that momentum going, as well, we have 3 drivers not finishing this race, which is unfortunate. Dan Wilson, Dan Birch and Chris Willems will come back again in race 2, but yeah, Hendrik de Vries has been absolutely rapid, and he deserves this podium, as does Jordan 40. So that means that we have a debate on our hands for these two as to who is going to get that podium. With that, we have 8 minutes 48 left in the session, and Hendrik de Vries is chasing Jordan 40. The number 40 is right in behind the 206, or right in ahead of the 206 even, and is looking to defend that position as we head towards the latter stages of this race.
Yes, we certainly do. The final 8 minutes and 20 seconds are upon us. There's a yellow flag somewhere on the circuit. I don't know if that could potentially be for Kona, or no, it's Craig Starkey who's unfortunately DNF'd from this race. He's challenge around this circuit, his woes go from bad to worse, unfortunately for the Porsche, and he is retired from the penultimate race of the season. Zoltan Verconyi is potentially looking to make it 7 out of 11. That's how many races he would have won this season if he's able to hold on to this, and he's now got to navigate the traffic of Gary Barnum in front of him. And we'll see, of course, Barnum, I don't think he has to move out of the way. Of course, in GT3 racing, the blue flags work a little bit differently to the likes of Formula 1. He doesn't have to move out of the way, just make sure he's predictable when on the racing line. And then we see Zoltan Verconyi head up through past one of the traffic But it's going to be a big challenge here, Joesph, to lap both Ferrari and Kona, because they're going to be scrapping for their own position.
They certainly are, and they're not going to let Zoltan through in a hurry. That's what happens when you have a short circuit that's only about a minute long. You get traffic like this. Verconyi has gotten through on Gary Barham and now sets his sights on Kerner and Ferrari, just 3 seconds up the field, and I'd imagine he's going to make pretty light work of them if he's able to close in on them at all. And well, if he's able to get past them, then it'll be absolutely perfect, and he will be absolutely fine at the top of the field. And well, just to reference how quick Zoltan Verconyi has been throughout the course of this race, he is currently lapping at a 104.846. If you look a little bit down the field, well, it's not quite the quickest lap. Jordan 40 over the last one had a kick up the backside from Hendrik de Vries and so opened up that gap. But pretty much everybody is lapping in at least the 105s. They have 2 104s, but a 104.8 is the second quickest lap time of all, and that comes when you're lapping somebody in Gary Barham. That comes when you've got all that dirty air. That comes when you've got more cars ahead to worry about, and I'm sure that he's not feeling any sort of pressure from anybody in front and behind to go quickly. So the fact that he's able to maintain that speed is mightily impressive, and of course he does hold that fastest lap by 0.4 of a second. So Zoltan Verconyi is looking to take a grand slam this evening. He's taken that pole position, he's taking this race lead so far, and well, he's just run a little bit wide off the circuit as a result of the number 33 Mark Kerner going wide. I think he looked to go around the outside. Kerner looked to lock up to allow Verconyi through, and it ended up that they both just went off the circuit in an odd incident, but one that neither could be at fault for. Verconyi through now on a couple more drivers, and he continues his way to an absolutely dominant victory.
Yes, he certainly does. Of course, lucky that Verconyi didn't have Ramsey right up behind him, because that certainly could, of course, some spice come the end of this race, but he's able to navigate his way through nicely indeed. Talking about Ramsey, Jordan 40 slowly bringing that gap down as well to the Aston Martin in front of him. Of course, the Aston Martin quartet at the front of the field of Verconyi, Ramsey, 40 and Hendrik de Vries. I could see a 3-car squabble for this second place in the race, especially now that they're catching up to the back markers too. So this does now make things a lot more interesting, and if we have another moment like that for one of these drivers, either 40 or Ramsey, I could certainly see either 2 cars go past one of them, or Hendrik de Vries capitalise and move up to that podium spot.
Yeah, Hendrik de Vries is getting closer and closer to the back of Jordan 40 as 40 is getting a move on of his own, and he's closing in on Alistair Ramsey so that he too could be under threat with just under 5 minutes left to go in this session. And well, what a way we could have to end race 1 as we just come through and lap some drivers now. If you have a look, Hendrik de Vries is in the black and, well, the dark blue and red Red Bull Aston Martin. You've got Jordan 40 and Alistair Ramsey. Very, very similar liveries. The way you can tell them apart is Jordan 40 has the white trim and Alistair Ramsey has the green trim on that number 89. Of course, you can look through the numbers as well. Alistair Ramsey number 89, Jordan 40 number 40, because of course he is, and Hendrik de Vries at number 206, and the 206 closing in on the 40, and he's just the 5/10 behind as they head down the straight for what will be and yet another time, and they've only got a couple more times to go in this race. I'd say they're going to get 4 more laps in, so it's 4 more opportunities for them to go. They've had 25 so far, and well, why not throw a few more on as de Vries chases 40 through, and he closes the gap down to just 0.3 of a second, but not quite making his way in and making his way past 40 yet, but he's looked more threatening on this lap than any other.
Yes, he certainly has, and now up the back straight we go. Will Hendrik de Vries finally be able to make that opportunity work and capitalise on the run up into the final corner? Is he going to look to the inside line? No, he's just going to sit behind for now, but you can see the difference in lines between the pair. 40 going a little bit wider and a bit more of a narrow line for Hendrik de Vries. Can he finally get that run into turn 1? He's all over the back of his fellow Aston Martin compatriot, really tucked up into the slipstream. Would he pull to the left, or would he look for a gap to the right? He's going to move to that right-hand side. Is he going to be able to sweep round the outside of turn 1? Hendrik de Vries, can he do it? No! Carries in too much speed and slides off into the wall. Hendrik de Vries, unfortunately for the man third in the standings, loses his rear wing, slides off into the wall, and it's late race drama for the Dutchman, and that is going to see him potentially fall out of the top 6 if he's able to keep it onto the road and potentially out of this race completely. But unfortunately for Hendrik de Vries, once again, like the story of the season so far, even if he's the one putting the pressure on or the one that elects to not put the pressure on and having to soak it all up, he unfortunately makes those mistakes. And unlike what we've seen over these past few rounds, Hendrik de Vries has unfortunately made another one.
Yeah, Hendrik de Vries giving himself the proper basic Ollie treatment as he span around and really caused his own failure today, rather than having any other incident. In fact, Hendrik de Vries has come into the pits. He drops behind Fasole, he drops behind Stegink, and he will probably drop behind Prieto and Borgson as well. Yes, indeed, now he does. And he's still in the pit lane. He might even be in the pit lane by the checkered flag, which would mean that he would peak at 12th place on this grid. And well, just now it's down to Max Ferrari, Gary Barrow and Mark Kerner to make their way through as they close their way in. But we have 1 minute left, and it's opened up the opportunity for Jordan 40 to try and close in on the back of Alistair Ramsey. He's 4 tenths back as it stands. This lap traffic, or this lapping traffic, might well get in his way as they come around to finish off this race. You do have Gary Barham and Max Ferrari in ahead of them, and well, Ramsey looking to the inside, 40 looking to the outside, switching to that inside line just to open up the opportunity to try to call Ramsey out. He didn't quite do it. A wide exit from Ramsey though opens up the door once again for Jordan 40, who once again is unable to get past. They're both going to have the dirty air this time. It's going to be Barham giving giving Alistair Ramsey dirty air and giving Jordan 40 the advantage that he so desperately desires. But it also means they'll get slipstream down the main straight, so the main opportunity that they have to overtake is nullified.
Yeah, it certainly is. And look at Ramsey now having to navigate these back markers. That's Ferrari off, and that's Barnum just getting in the way ever so slightly with some contact between Ramsey and Barnum. And unfortunately, Ramsey having to shake his car in frustration, weaving from side to side, and that has put him under all sorts of pressure from Jordan 40 behind. But at the front of the field, it's going to be Zoltan Verkonyi's day. It's going to be 7 heaven for the Hungarian, and this race will cement himself as the mathematical championship winner. Our provisional champion is going to be Zoltan Verkonyi. He makes his way to the line, and he is the champion of the world here in the LMGT3 Challenge. A beautiful drive from Hungarian to cement what has been a hard-fought season, and we still have one more race to go, but he has wrapped up the title provisionally at the first time of asking this evening. It is 7th heaven for Zoltan Verkonyi. Ramsey finishes off in second, did everything he could to take the title to the final race, but just was unfortunately not able to do so. But Joesph, Zoltan Verkonyi, we've been threatening it for weeks. He finally has both hands on that trophy provisionally, and he is going to be your provisional champion here in the LMGT3 Challenge before we even start race 2 of the evening.
He certainly is, which is going to take the pressure off later on. And of course, that does not mean everything. He may well be dropped off of the podium. We never quite know until the end. And well, of course, you can watch. I'd imagine the final round of stewarding will be on. Will be on here as well, so you'll get the opportunity for multiple attempts at it being revealed to you. But yeah, Zoltan Verkonyi driving an incredible race up there at the top. Alistair Ramsey taking that second place away, and Jordan 40 the final place on the podium. Fasole and Stegink was an interesting one because they were both in the BMWs, so they weren't quite on the pace of the Aston Martins. But 4th and 5th, pretty good going for them, despite the fact that well, we've had a couple of hot contenders drop out.
Yeah, we certainly have, and still, for Fasole and Stegink, if anything happens in race 2, of course, we'll move to the full Sebring circuit. for the next race. See what they have to offer. Zoltan Verkonilo, your champion, or provisional champion, should I say, before Stewards Inquiries. We still have to say provisional, even though it may seem like he has sweeped it. We still have to look out for the Stewards Inquiries. So for Zoltan, Dreamland here in Sebring, finally able to get his hands onto that trophy. But make sure you stick around for the next race. Race 2 here at Sebring. We're going to be moving from the school. We're going to be opening up the back end of the circuit and moving to the full layout. Make sure you stick with us for that one. It'll be a very interesting race. Gloves will be off. No championship provisionally on the line. So we shall see you when we get into qualifying for race 2. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for race 2 here at Sebring. We've gone from the school layout to the full layout. The only time this season where we have 2 layouts in one evening. It should be an eventful one here, Joesph. Of course, with Vakonyi coming out on top as the winner in race 1. Surely we think he could potentially do it again and make it 8 wins out of 12 this season, only missing out on 4 wins total.
Yes, you would imagine that Zoltan Vakonyi should be able to do it again. He has had that pace in race 1, and he would fully deserve this race 2 victory just to cap off the season in style. And yeah, it would be a great way to end for anybody who decides to take that victory in that final round. It would be a very good way of capping off your season by being victorious, and then hopefully heading through to season number 3 of the LMGT3 challenge with a whole other just a whole other piece of momentum carrying yourself through. And hopefully we will be seeing most, if not all, of these drivers back next season, because they have all given us a lot to talk about, a lot to watch, and yeah, they've been a spectacle so far this season. We've had another one of those drivers who was a real spectacle. He's joined us in race 2, and it'll be Tom Osborne making this a slightly larger grid as qualifying is ready to get underway with our 17 drivers.
Yep, let's head track side now so you can see the cars trundling down the pit lane. But yes, Tom Osborne, BMW's brilliant star boy, has returned. He's been on holiday for the past few weeks, but here in the final round of the season, no, he is so good at qualifying. Is that man? He's such a fast driver. Has been able to really take it to the Aston Martins. Been the key driver to take it to the Aston Martins in a car that's not that British racing green British outfit car. And he certainly can pose a threat here this evening. Depends how much practice he has done. Only returned from his holiday last night. We'll be looking to try and potentially finish this season off on a high. But as we head over to full race side, Tom Osborne, certainly a man to watch. But with the way the pit lane works here, we never mentioned this in Quali 1 here, Joesph, where the way the pit lane works is you actually start your lap. You don't actually do a full out lap. You do the final corner, then you're into your first hot lap. So that can really change things around here. And lap times are actually 1 minute longer than they are on the school circuit as well.
Yeah, and it can give you a significant benefit when you've got more of an opportunity. It gives you more of a margin for error, as we saw in that first qualifying session with Zoltan Vakonyi making that mistake in race, or in his first qualifying lap, but coming back to set 2, absolutely storming laps to take that pole position away. Is anybody going to be able to challenge him? We're going to have to wait and see, as Henrik de Vries goes with a 46.492 in that first sector, and everyone else filters through that first sector. Alistair Ramsey, a 46.224, and that is the quickest one so far, even quicker than Zoltan.
Yes, it's been a very good start to the lap for Alistair Ramsey. See how his middle sector lane goes. Of course, we just cut off after turn 1 into the end of the circuit. Here now out in the back part, it's a completely different ball game as we then head through into the sector 2 split. Henrik de Vries, a 32.9. No one been able to match it so far until we see Alistair Ramsey, a 33.0 for him. And then Zoltan Vakonyi, a 32.7 from the Hungarian, looking to go for back-to-back poles here this evening on the alternate layout. But here comes Ramsey out of the penultimate corner, up the back straight, which we know all too well so far this evening, and into that final corner. We'll have one more attempt each at a lap, I think. Actually, no, we could potentially go for 2 more laps from each of the drivers. Have enough time getting to the line, but it'll be Henrik de Vries who'll set the benchmark as he'll come across the line ever so shortly. Dan Wilson is the top of the time. Sorry, he set the benchmark compared to everybody else, but look at Alistair Ramsey. He sets the time of a 2-minute 3.4 with Davide going into third, and then Zoltan Vakonyi instantly displacing the Brit.
Yeah, instantly displacing him and going up to the top. And Tom Osborne right back on the pace and up into that second place but he showed that pace in the final sector, and Tom Osborne is going to look to build that momentum up now. He went actually quickest of all in that second sector, and that third sector he was able to close right in on Zoltan Vikonyi's advantage. He just needs to nail this first sector, and he is throwing everything at this lap, using grass, using curb, using track, everything to try and gain that little bit of advantage, gain that 1/10 of a second that he lost, and maybe gain just that little bit more as well. It's a 2-minute 3 laps. There is lots of margin for error, and there's lots of margin for him to gain time, and this is exactly what he's trying to do now. He's up to about 2/10 of a second up on his lap. Make that 3/10 as he heads through the second sector. He went, though, a 1/10 and a half slower than Zoltan Vikonyi, who's really trying to knuckle down. He can see a new competitor, a new challenger to his lap times at the top, and so he's just going to try and eke out that gap. With 1 minute left to go in this qualifying session, Tom Osborne is going to head through the second sector split time. We'll see what he's able to do as Alistair Ramsey goes in there. He's only a 1/10 off of Osborne in the first sector, and he sets a 32.892 in that second. What can Osborne do? He already had that purple second sector. Is he able to extend his advantage in there as he comes up to the split time now? Yes, he is. It's a purple, and he goes a 1/10 and a half quicker in that second sector. This is going to be split by hairs.
It certainly is. Vikonyi quickest in Sector 1. Osborne quickest in Sector 2. They're about level pegging so far across the course of this lap. Of course, Vikonyi will get to the line first. So let's go on board with the Aston Martin heading through the final corner. We'll see who will come out on top here. A 1/10 and a half in each direction for both drivers. It's all about this final sector as Alistair Ramsey goes to the top of the times now. Here comes Zoltan Vikonyi. He displaces the Brit once more, but the BMW Starboy, the brilliance from the German manufacturer, up to the line now comes Tom Osborne. Can he snatch it away from Vikonyi? No, it was a monstrous final sector from the Aston Martin. 4/10 to the good over Tom Osborne. The Hungarian has done it again here this evening, putting out stonking lap times left, right and centre. Dan Wilson still has time for another run. I think some other drivers potentially do too. Alistair Ramsey's coming to pit lane. Tom Osborne will as well. And Jordan Forty's had a big off in that first sector. And it's going to be Zoltan Vikonyi. We thought it might have been neck and neck between the pair, but the Hungarian pulls out a stellar final sector. A real beautiful lap time from the Aston Martin to put himself onto pole position.
Sometimes you'll see setups where you think, okay, maybe that'll be suited towards the third sector. Maybe they'll go incredibly fast in that final sector. But Zoltan Vikonyi was able to keep it with Tom Osborne in the first two sectors and then extend his advantage in the final sector. Went 2/10 quicker than everybody else, 4/10 quicker than Tom Osborne in that final sector. That was quite an incredible lap time thrown in. And, well, Zoltan Vikonyi once again showing why he is the class of this field. Almost half a second ahead of Tom Osborne, over half a second ahead of Jordan Forty, and over a second ahead of Davide Fasole in that 5th place. So those top 5 split by a huge margin. Then there's another 5/10 back to Hendrik de Vries, and I think it's fair to say that he would not be happy with that lap. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting race at 2 this evening. Just to finish off our season, there is nothing to lose now. There is everything to play for, and all of these drivers are going to try and finish off their season on a high.
Yes, they certainly will. But what makes that lap even better from Zoltan Vikonyi is the fact over that previous lap they both had, where Osborne moved himself within a 1/10 shy of Zoltan Vikonyi, Osborne was quicker through the middle and the final sector, so it shows how much time Vikonyi was holding back in that final part of the lap. We'll be heading into the race ever so shortly. I don't know if we're waiting on it or not, but it was a spectacular final sector from Zoltan Vikonyi to give him that lap time. But we'll now be heading to the green flag for the final time this season here, Joesph. It's going to be a race full of attrition. 30 more minutes to round out this season. You know what? We don't usually do this here, Joesph, in the LMGT3 challenge. But who's your prediction for the race, Vic?
Oh, I've missed it. I think we did it first few rounds of the season, but then it became pretty much an inevitability who could be up there at the top. And of course, Zoltan Vakonyi is the obvious answer for the race victory. However, I'm going to go for somebody different just to be a devil's advocate, just to play a little bit of fun. And I'm going to go for Davide Fasole picking up his first victory in the LMGT3 challenge at only the 4th time of asking. He's only had 2 rounds, and this is his, well, he might have actually had 3 rounds, 6 races, and so 6 opportunities to take the victory, and I think he's going to pick it up at the death.
That could be a very, very good shout indeed for him. I'm going to give it to Osborne, actually. I don't think Vakonyi's going to win this final race of the season. I'm going to give it to the Hungarian himself, the Brit, of Tom Osborne, not the Hungarian himself. That is my bad. But yeah, I think Zoltan Vakonyi could potentially falter in this final race on this longer layout. But we are about to get to the green flag command for the final time this season. We've had 11 great rounds before this one. We're now heading to round 12, the final race of the season. Here at Sebring, we went from the short circuit in round 11 to the full layout here for round 12. This will be a race of attrition. Will Vakonyi make it 8 out of 12, only missing 4 race wins this season, or will someone be able to displace him here in the Americas, here in Sebring? Have to wait and see. But as the drivers head through the final corner, the final green flag command of the season will be getting underway ever so shortly, and the final round here in the LMGT3 challenge, brought to you by Driven Minds, is a go, and we are underway. And Tom Osborne has actually been able to lead away from Zoltan Vakonyi. You have no idea what has happened there, but Tom Osborne on the outside line compared to the Aston Martin does take that race lead, and the Brit is at the front of the field out of turn 1. Further back we have some more moves as there's a spinning car in the background. I think that is Gary Barnum against one of these drivers. Actually, no, it's Dan Wilson, who has spun around. Same with Chris Willems as well. It's all kicking off at the front of the field as here's Craig Starkey versus Hendrik de Vries and Alistair Ramsey. These three now going toe-to-toe with one another. Of course, de Vries and Ramsey still in that championship picture, still trying to fight this one as they now go side by side into the next chicane. Who's going to come out on top? De Vries with the optimal line, late on the brakes on the Red Bull Aston Martin. He gets the move done, and same with Franklin Stegnick against Craig Starkey as well. But for Tom Osborne, a dream gets away for him, and he's 1.1 seconds clear already from the Hungarian of Vakonyi.
He certainly is. What a start Tom Osborne has had. Is the start of dreams. As Zoltan Vakonyi has been cost a little bit. I think Jordan 40 has been lagging just that little bit, which means that Zoltan is going to feel that little bit of pressure from that car, because he doesn't quite know what is going to happen as we end we head through the middle of what will be the first of roughly around 15-16 laps. And Tom Osborne leads the way, but Zoltan Vakonyi now will knuckle down, try to close in, but Jordan 40 in behind him is going to try and make his life difficult, as Davide Fasole is only 5/10 back on 40. Are we sure Tom Osborne's only just come back from holiday? Because he is absolutely driving like a man on a mission, and like a man who has practiced day in, day out, night and day to round out this championship with a victory, and he will take the lead out of this first lap, and he is going to be very happy with that one, as Gary Barham has been setting up a move on Franklin Stegnick for an entire lap. He's not quite been able to get it done, but it feels like soon that is it's certainly going to be his position.
It certainly could be indeed. Stegnick still trying to line up that move. He's actually coming under pressure now from Barham. Is he going to get the move done in that beautiful silver BMW? As you look to the inside line, of course, it's BMW on BMW, and Barham does go through. Nicely done from Gary to move himself up into 7th. Really contrasting fortunes from race 1 there for the BMW man. He's the man who's really been the higher end of the midfield all season long, the lead runner of the midfield, you could say. himself up into 7th, and Davide as well. Fasol is looking all over the back of Jordan 40. Is he going to get the move done into the chicane? Gets really close under braking. But for Fasol, who have to sit behind for now. And for Connie's been able to bring that gap down by around about 0.2 of a second to Osborne. So we could also see a battle brewing for the lead.
We could, and well, Zoltan Verkonyi is closed in by 0.3 in this second sector as Tom Osborne continues to try and hold that lead for now, but it's going to get incredibly close, I think, towards the end of this race as, well, Tom Osborne is going to try and hold him off. Of course he is, because he wants that victory just as much, if not more, than Verkonyi, who's had plenty this season. Tom Osborne looking to get his name on the leaderboard, as we've already had our first DNF of the season. Dan Wilson, or of the race even, and it's Dan Wilson unfortunately suffering a double DNF in his final round here at Sebring, and he will not be happy with that. But that leaves us with 16 incredible drivers, and hopefully we are going to finish with our 16 incredible drivers. Jorge Prieto, the latest driver to try and shape a move up on Franklin Stegging, as something tells me that Stegging qualified high, but his race pace is not optimal.
No, I don't think so at all. Maybe just struggling at these early stages of the race. Is Perito going to be able to get by it? No, he is not. So Jorge sits behind for now. Try to get the run out the final corner. See what he can do here within the slipstream of the BMW. It's Ferrari versus BMW over this 8th place in the race. There's also further up, Hendrik de Vries all over the back of Craig Starkey. And Franklin Stegning able to stay in front for now, or is he? Because look at that run from the Ferrari out of turn 1. Is he going to look to the inside line into the next left-hander? No, he's just going to have to sit behind as well. Not able to get that move done, and this is inviting Alistair Ramsey all over the back of them as there's a spin there for Jorge Perito, and unfortunately for the Ferrari, just dipped a tyre onto the grass, and that sent him spinning, and he's fallen down into 13th place.
Yes, he's dropped down to 13th place. That is certainly not ideal, considering what he would have wanted. But yeah, Prieto now down to 14th as he drops behind Sebastian Borgerson. Has a lot of work to do, and he finds himself in behind even Sebastian Borgerson, the only other Ferrari on this field. So it's going to be a Ferrari on Ferrari battle, and with Jorge Prieto, I'd assume that he might have a little bit of damage, if not those tyres are going to be overheated, and so the move on Sebastian Borgerson is going to be a little easier on paper than it is on the circuit itself, but he is going to try and shape this one up as right at the top of the field, Zoltan Verkonyi is within 0.5 of Tom Osborne. He's creeping closer and closer and closer, and soon he will have his chance. But switching back to the battle for P13, and it's Jorge Prieto right in behind. Don't forget as well, Borgerson is helped by the slipstream of Mark Kerner, but the inside line is opened up for Prieto, who heads through on it, takes too much curb and slides out of the corner, lucky to avoid everybody, and his race has just gone from bad to worse.
In the space of only a few corners, it certainly has gone from bad to worse. Oh, and another spin just before he heads onto the back straight. And is he going to come into the pit lane? No, he is not. But further up in front, it's Hendrik de Vries versus Craig Starkey versus Gary Barham. All for this 5th place on the road. They've dropped up 3 seconds back from Davide Fasol in front. But who is going to come out on top in this three-way battle over this top 5 position? You can see the BMW just lurking behind the Aston Martin. 3 different manufacturers all fighting in this little scrap. Barham, he's just going to have to sit behind for now, but he's got a good run out of turn 1, just not close enough for the lunge into turn 2. Starkey from de Vries from Barham is the order as it follows for now. It does seem that at the back end of the circuit through the final sector, de Vries is just a little bit stronger than Craig Starkey.
It certainly does feel that way, and well, it's sort of what you'd expect, because across the course of the season, Hendrik de Vries has been right up there, whereas Craig Starkey has been a little bit more in the mid-pack. But now it's his opportunity to show what he can do against one of the top drivers, and Hendrik de Vries will be chasing him, trying not to cause an incident just like Hendrik de Vries has had yesterday with a certain YouTuber in Interlagos. Of course, we're not at Interlagos, we're at Sebring, so it's unlikely that it's going to be a similar incident. But of course, it may well be, and so Hendrik de Vries will need to be very careful on the back of Starkey here, especially as his race 1 did not go the greatest. So he's trying to pick up as many points as he can just to hold himself within shooting range of where those at the top have been. Just talking about the championship standings, and Hendrik de Vries, who was very, very good and very consistent up at the top. He's been consistently up at the top all year round, and it just feels unlucky for him that he's not more in that championship fight, and he's not right up at the very top, dicing away with Zoltan Vakunyi, who of course holds that lead. Of course, as well, Hendrik de Vries has been very, very quick, but he's sometimes been a little mistake prone, and he's going to try and iron that out heading into season 3, and he's going to want to end off this season on a high. Still chasing Craig Starkey, and not quite close enough. Gary Barham goes around the outside, but that may well have just been a missed breaking point, and so that alleviates all the pressure that de Vries would have been feeling, and means that he's now only 4 tenths behind Craig Starkey.
Certainly is indeed, and all this like concertina effect and trying to scrap away is actually inviting both Franklin Stegnick and also Alistair Ramsey as well. So we're going to have a 5-car train for this battle over 5th place. Freeze. Two seeming incredibly strong, and that's a really good exit now as we head into the chicane. Is he finally going to be able to see a way through on a Craig Starkey? Been staring at the back of that Porsche for oh so long as Starkey defends the inside line nicely, as we're going to see de Vries try and swoop it round the outside. Who dares to break later into the next chicane? Of course, Starkey, the track then does fall to him, as we will then head for a fast right-hander, and de Vries will have to sit behind. Once more, no move being made from the Dutchman behind, but Starkey's still coming under all sorts of pressure. So now head into the next right-hander. This is certainly an opportunity where you can dive to the inside late on the brakes. Freeze, not confident enough, not able to get close enough to go for that move, and he will sit behind once more. Craig Starkey is a valiant defence, and this is one of the best races he's driven all season here, Joesph. Certainly be happy to hold on to this one, and if he can do that, it'll be certainly nice as Barham with a big slide, and that is an incredible save from the BMW of Gary Barham. Was nearly parallel to the circuit and somehow was able to hold on, and only just dropping behind both Alistair Ramsey and Franklin Stegnick as well.
Yeah, and he still, of course, has a perfect opportunity to find his way back into this one, but of course, he just making that mistake, he'll feel slightly nervous about it, and he'll be wanting to get back going again and build that momentum back up after an incredible slide from himself. And he was able to save it, but not without losing any positions and not without losing that little bit of time to those cars ahead. But fair play to him, good save, and that may well actually perversely give him a little bit of confidence as into the wall Gary Barham goes, and that is unfortunate. After that incredible save, he's not going to be able to back it up, and I think that might be the last we see of Gary Barham here in Season 2, slamming into the wall, and well, he's got a whole lap to go if he wants to make it to the pits, and I don't think he's going to. He's going to pull off to the side, and we might be seeing it. Did not finish for Gary Barham. The third of the race now as Jorge Prieto became our second, but we peaked at 3 out in race 1, and so 15 drivers left in race 2 is not bad going, and if they can survive the next 18 minutes, then we'll be absolutely fine and dandy.
Yes, we certainly will be indeed, but thanks to that mistake from Barham, really has put no pressure onto the back of de Vries and has allowed him to really focus up in this battle against him and Craig Starkey. There's also that move that could potentially be made a little bit further back from Alistair Ramsey on Franklin Stegnick. De Vries looking to the inside, just not close enough. What about Ramsey though? Is he going to go for the move into the next right-hander? No, he'll just sit behind Franklin Stegnick as well. Of course, these are now... It was a 5-car train, now split into 2 cars of 2, and just all trying to scrap for their own positions indeed in this final race of the season. You want to finish this season off on a high. That's exactly what these guys are looking to do, especially Tom Osborne at the front of the field. He's brought that gap up now to 8 seconds over Zoltan Vakunyi. Of course, his last win was in Bahrain, was Tom Osborne. Nearly won in Texas as well, but unfortunately made a crucial error, which brought an end to that one. And look at the amount of road de Vries used out of that penultimate corner and up into the final corner. We go now down the back straight. Is he going to be close enough for the look to the inside this time around? Is he going to finally be able to break that defence and crack the code on Craig Starkey? No, he's just going to sit a little bit further back once again. These two are really in a bit of a ding-dong right now here, Joesph, and we could now see an excellent run out the final corner. De Vries finally breaking free.
Yes, finally for De Vries, and he is going to try and get past Craig Starkey. He's on that inside line, but Starkey holds firm around the outside and holds the position. He is defending impeccably here as we almost reach the halfway point of the final race of this LMGT3 challenge here at Sebring. He just swooped across, and De Vries is clearly frustrated, riding over a little bit of grass and once again riding over the grass as he tries to gain everything he can out of the corner, maximise his exits, but he's not quite getting close enough, and this will continue onwards, I think, as he's 3/10 behind and just making it 2 down the end of straights. But Starkey looks a lot better set up for the corners, and I think that's where he's got his edge.
Yeah, it certainly does seem so. And at the front of their field, Zoltan Varkonyi is now all over the back of Tom Osborne as we head into the final sector in a few moments' time. Are we going to see the move be made from the Hungarian against the Brits? Of course, as I mentioned, Tom Osborne's last win was in Bahrain. Zoltan Varkonyi's was in round 11, the last race we just had here this evening. And he's now looking to try and make it 8 from 12. Osborne, Pure, Cooley and Hendrik de Vries are the only drivers that have won this season. And we are now looking potential battle between Zoltan Varkonyi and Tom Osborne. We know Osborne will not give this one up without a fight. He'll want to make amends from so many pole positions that have led to missed opportunities through mistakes of his own and unfortunate incidents that were not his fault, and one of them was with Zoltan Varkonyi in race 2 in Fuji. Got pole position and Varkonyi accidentally outbroke himself and went straight into the back of Tom Osborne. So this really does boil all down to maybe some past incidents that could lead into this one. But Osborne still staying firm. He's been able to extend that gap now to 3/10 of a second. Still, the Hungarian will be looming all over the back of him.
He certainly will, and I think it's going to be a battle that will continue on to race end, and what a way it would be to end the season. But Zoltan Varkonyi, with a good run with that slipstream, is going to have the opportunity to make an overtake. Is he going to take it, or is he going to just be squeezed to the outside line too much? He's got that momentum. He has the outside line. Is he going to be able to sweep through, or is Tom Osborne going to be able to hold firm? It looks like Tom might be able to just keep his wheels in there, and he gets the exit out of the corner, and it's just about good enough to hold off Varkonyi for now. But of course, they're going to keep fighting away, and it's going to be Varkonyi once again on the outside line. Osborne squeezes him, and Varkonyi, desperate on the brakes on the grass, has a bit of a wobble, and so has to drop right back in behind the BMW, who continues to try and take that first victory of this season right at the very death of it.
Yes, he certainly is. And De Vries versus Starkey, still raging on them both. De Vries and Ramsey both having similar mistakes there coming out of the right-hander. And that's now put De Vries under pressure from Franklin Staining behind. Excuse me. As we now exit into Sector 3. Of course, Zoltan Varkonyi has dropped that a little bit further back from Osborne, so he's been relieved of some pressure. Has the BMW. We now head into next phase of this final sector. Just before we hit the back straight, that's Max Emilio Ferrari now just coming across the right-hander and just keeping out the way of everybody. We're now going to see Hendrik de Vries once again try and close back up to the back of Craig Starkey once more. Is he going to be able to get this move done within the next few laps? Probably getting incredibly frustrating here, Joseph, for Hendrik de Vries, because he knows he's quicker than Starkey at some points in the circuit. It's just that Porsche seems to be so good in the straight line and through under braking that he's not really able to get close enough for that move against the Porsche, and the Aston Martin just has to sit behind and just stare at the back of it for now, what is this, about 18 minutes of this race now.
Something like that, which is certainly not ideal, and yeah, it's just for Hendrik de Vries, it's not been a great race by any shape or by any stretch of the imagination, and he's just going to try and get through eventually on Craig Starkey. He's got 12 minutes to do so, and it doesn't feel like they're going to be able to close up to the cars ahead. Davide Fasole is 7 seconds up the road, and so Starkey holds firm in that 5th place for now, and of course he's going to fight for it, because absolutely why wouldn't he? The Porsche is very entitled to be there. He's there on pace, and he's going to try and hold on to it on pace as well, putting up a very, very stark defensive performance, just like the likes of Jarno Trulli. And well, Jarno Trulli would have created a Trulli train just a little bit like this is. Call it a Starkey train, as De Vries joins it, Stegging joins it, and Alistair Ramsey is not too far off as well.
He certainly is not. That mistake just set him off the back of Stegning ever so slightly, so he's having to play catch up as well. But if we look at the front of the field once more, Verconyi is getting closer and closer to yellow flag somewhere on the road. I'm not sure who that is for, potentially for Chris Willems at the back of the field, but we stay on board with Zoltan Verconyi looking to try and get past Tom Osborne, trying to take his 8th race victory of the season. Will he be able to do it though? That is going to be the main question here in Sebring. See how close he gets to the wall on the exit of the final corner. Just won't be close enough for now. De Vries has dropped slightly further back from Craig Starkey. Same with Stegning as well. He's dropped that a little bit further back from the Aston Martin. So it's all just level pegging for now, but I expect the final few moments of this race, the final few minutes, we'll see fireworks as drivers really know they need to start making their moves if they want any chance of moving themselves up through the order.
Yeah, they certainly do. And, well, Hendrik De Vries has gone off of the circuit. He has bottled this last race as he's just had a huge slide. And that is Hendrik De Vries' race. Well and truly over, or his chase at least, on Craig Starkey. Well and truly over as he drops behind Eero Visuri. And if he has the same problems that he did behind Starkey, he's going to finish off in 9th place. Not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. And he goes off the circuit once again, this time not losing the rears. And yeah, Hendrik De Vries just not having the greatest time of it in the final round of this season. And Dan Burke trying to close in, just like Zoltan Verconyi is continuing to try and close in on Tom Osborne. It looked so easy early on as he closed in a lot of time very quickly. It got up to about 1.2 seconds, then was nailed down to 0.4 of a second within just a couple of laps. But ever since then, it has remained around 0.4 of a second, as Tom Osborne's defence has shown no signs of flinching. And so Zoltan Verconyi is just having to try and force a way through on this Sebring road course. It's now Verconyi who continues to try and chase, and is he going to get this exit right now onto the straight once again, onto the pit straight here at Sebring? He has that slipstream. He has the benefit of just those extra couple of miles an hour. Osborne is giving him the outside line, but as with many times before, Zoltan Verconyi has decided to move to that inside line. Osborne looked like he was going to try and squeeze Verconyi, but Verconyi this time read the situation and played it perfectly. The Hungarian takes the lead of this Sebring race and ahead of Tom Osborne.
Nice stuff there from Zoltan Verconyi. Sold him the dummy, and Osborne had nothing he could have done about it. De Vries, unfortunately, another mistake at turn 1 here this evening. That's 2 races now gone up in smoke thanks to 2 mistakes at the first corner. But for Zoltan Verconyi, that was a real move from him. That was brave, it was determined. And that's exactly how you get by your rival. He's been threatening that all race long. With 8 minutes and 50 seconds now left on the clock, he's finally been able to break free and ahead of Tom Osborne. But there's still time for the BMW to try and make a fight back into this one. And will he be able to try and get back past Zoltan Verconyi? Of course, BMW versus the Aston Martin. The BMW is usually the quicker car in the straight lines, really. It's a bit heavier through the corners, but down the straights it is a speed machine. But for Zoltan Verconyi, I think he's just used more of the road, and that's what we've seen all season long, isn't it, Joseph? That Verconyi isn't scared to really push the limits of the track and the car, to give him as much momentum out of the corner as possible and go for that move up the inside. So it was a really nicely well-worked move, and I guess was just a bit more braver through that penultimate corner than Tom Osborne was.
Yes, he is a little bit braver, and that was what caused him made him able even to get through into that first place. It was just about selling him the dummy, as you said, and Tom Osborne looked to try and squeeze him to the outside. He had a very, very easy run to the end if Verconyi was going to continue to take that outside line, because Osborne was clearly incredibly good at managing it, but no such luck for Tom Osborne, as Zoltan Verconyi is smarter than that. He's better than that, and he demonstrated his ability by making his way through. And I think that might be the last we see of that battle, as Verconyi was actually 1.1 seconds quicker over that previous lap than Tom Osborne was, which is an incredible deficit considering the pace that they've both shown so far this race. And I think Zoltan Verconyi could be on his way to a very, very, very good race victory, as well, there's more battles going on the circuit, of course, because there always is battles going on the circuit, the latest one being Dan Burt's chasing Hendrik de Vries, and the number 58 chasing the number 206, simply because Hendrik de Vries has been mistake ridden all race long, and well, he dropped back from the back of Craig Starkey, who's managing to hold on in his own battle. It was with de Vries before, it's now with Franklin Stegging.
Yep, now we're going to see if Stegny's going to be able to make opportunity and try and find a chink in the armour. And de Vries has made another mistake at turn 1, and this time it is going to be race-ending. DNF from Hendrik de Vries, 2 in a row at turn 1, and unfortunately he lost his rear wing, and he just seems to really dislike that corner, just takes too much momentum into it. Unfortunately for de Vries, he is our 4th retirement of the race. A big whack into the wall indeed. Tom Osborne has dropped 1.7 seconds back from Zoltan Verconyi. I think you can really say the Hungarian has got this one in the bag, and that is certainly going to help his championship challenge here in this final round. Alistair Ramsey in 7th. de Vries, unfortunately, out of it as well. Davide Fassel is around 2.5 seconds behind Jordan 40. It just seems, Joseph, that again, like we've seen all season, that BMW oh so good through the start of the race, through the first, I would say, 20 minutes, and then once we hit that 10-minute remaining onwards, the tyres and the car just seems to fall off a cliff completely, and they're just not able to keep up with the pace of the Aston Martins.
Yeah, it really doesn't feel like they are able to keep up, and it's been the debate all season long, because there's been some drivers that have stuck alongside their cars. So take, for example, Sebastian Borgerson, who has been staunchly running that Ferrari, and take, for example, Chris Williams, who has been in that McLaren. Those cars have not proven to be the best ones, but it's been the Aston Martin that reigns supreme, and that's demonstrated here. Of course, a little bit more split than usual, but for the majority of race 1, it was all Aston Martin at the very top, as Tom Osborne and Davide Vasole is breaking that right now, as they're both in the BMWs, and the two other drivers at the top are in the Aston Martins. But yeah, it's been a very interesting one to watch all race long and all season long, as the BMWs and the Lexuses still using a different way of terming them every single time. But those Lexi are very, look, they're very quick, as are the BMWs. But it's been the Aston Martin that's just been the all-round car all season long. So while, for example, Robert Pure was able to challenge on debut in that Lexus, all season long it's just been consistently that the Aston Martin is the much faster car.
Yeah, it's just been the all-round car as that Aston Martin. The only real setback the likes of Verconyi, Ramsey and de Vries have had is either mistakes or just plainly the ballast. The car being too heavy and the other cars being able to capitalise on that indeed. And yeah, the Aston Martin has just been the all-round favourite for this season. And the little game we should have at the end of this season is how do you pronounce multiple Lexuses, Joseph? Because it's either Lexi, Lexuses. We'll have to maybe do our little bit of research just before we end the stream to give everybody at home a proper confirmation of it. But Franklin Stegning still chasing Craig Stark, who's just made a mistake before we reach the back straight, and this could be the BMW's opportunity. He's found that chink in the armour, but is he going to be able to capitalise it and stab into that wound he has just found from the Porsche in front? I just don't think he's going to get close enough into the braking zone of the final corner, and he'll just have to sit behind once more. But Starkey showing that little bit of an error, showing he is maybe feeling this pressure slightly. Have to sit behind once more as we have 2 more laps to go, including the one that Zoltan Verconyi is on now.
Yes, Zoltan Verconyi will be leading us to the end, as he's built up another second to Tom Osborne, and it looked like Osborne's defences were going to be enough. Not quite anymore, as it's not just been the ability on pace at least, but it's also the ability on it's just been the ability in general, to be fair, from Zoltan Vakonyi. He's demonstrated racecraft in his ability to make his way past Tom Osborne, and he's been pretty smart in the way that he's managed to do it, and ever since then he's been able to stretch his legs up the top and build up that gap that we've seen him do so many times this season, because when it rains it pours, and when he dominates, well, when he's in the lead, he dominates hard. And Zoltan Vakonyi, 3.3 seconds up the fields, as well, he's going to head around what will be the middle of the circuit. So I think we're going to be having just the one more lap of racing action on our hands, because Zoltan Vakonyi is not one to yield, not one to lift off towards the end of the race. He will keep going until the checkered flag, and that's exactly what he's going to do. 1:40 on the clock now as he heads around what will be the final couple of corners on this racetrack. Of course, it's not the traditional pit road doubling up as the start-finish line. It is the pit road, and then you head around the corner, and then it's the start-finish line. He's got 1 minute 25 left on the clock, and we will have one final lap on our hands, as Craig Starkey's defences may well finally be breached by Franklin Stegging. He pulled alongside, but he has not pulled ahead, and they will continue to scrap as we head towards the final lap of the season. It's Starkey leading Stegging, leading Ramsey, and they only have a couple more minutes left to go to decide who's going to take this 5th place. Is it going to be Starkey? Is it going to be Stegging? Or is it going to be Ramsey? It's fair to say that I think Craig Starkey deserves it out of all of those three, just because of the defensive performance he's put up today. And, well, I think this one is going to go right down to the wire.
It certainly is indeed, as the final lap does begin now. The final lap of the season here at Sebring, and we'll see who comes out on top for this battle for 5th place. Starkey looking to try and get his best result of the season. Stegning trying to just get a high after a season of unfortunate mistakes and just bad moments for him. Just no real luck for him. He's been in podium places, and he's just unfortunately faltered at the last hurdle in each one. So as we exit out, down now into the chicane, I think Starkey will just have the upper hand over Franklin Stegning, because Alistair Ramsey is just bleeding that little bit further back as we head down into the chicane now. Late on the brakes goes Craig Starkey as they go across the first sector split just on the exit of this chicane. And Stegning is actually falling into the clutches of Alistair Ramsey. I think Starkey's just going to be home dry here for this 5th place. So lucky enough for the Porsche, he's going to be able to hold on to things indeed. But at the front of the field, it has been the story of the season, and we're going to end it off the way we have known it all season long. Only 4 races haven't been won by this man so far this season, and will be the way the season does end. 8 out of 12 victories. This Hungarian hero has certainly stooped the odds, has made an interesting season, an exciting season, still be dominating and still be a dominance fest. Zoltan Vakonyi, for the final time this season, 8th time's the charm, he wins here in Sebring. What a drive from a Hungarian to make it 8 wins out of 12. A dominant performance indeed, with Tom Osborne returning for his first race of the season from holiday, and has really done well to hold on to a 2nd place. But it is Zoltan Vakonyi who wins here in round 12. That's exactly how he would have wanted the end of the season. He is inevitable, and if you put your money on anyone to win a race, you surely want to put it on Zoltan.
You certainly think so, and that's exactly what's happened. He has taken that victory, and he's taken it in a very, very good style, as we have our final finish just doing their donuts, and we round off a very, very good season. And it's been one that's gripped us all season long, and it's been a very, very good drive from every single one of these drivers, and I'm sure a number of them are going to want to speak to us. So, well, why don't we head over to where we're going to be getting these interviews, fingers crossed, from all of our drivers.
Yes, now we are waiting to see if anybody would like to come and speak to us. Of course, we'll probably see Zoltan Vakoni be one of them. We're just waiting for Chris Willems, I think, to cross the line to end off the season. Might as well watch the final car come across the line. No, we're not. We're waiting for somebody. It's Koma, who is now coming up to the line in the Porsche. The final driver to cross the line in the final race of the season. That is going to be it for the LMGT3 challenge with the on-circuit action at the very least. We'll wait for the Porsche to quickly head into pit lane, and that is all the cars now gone from this evening's action. And now I'll head over to us and see if anybody would like to speak to us indeed. So, Joseph, this is going to be the end of what has been a magnificent season and one that's been dominated by Zoltan Vakoni, but unlike usual dominance in a season, it's still been very interesting indeed. Championship has still come down to the wire, and he is actually in the waiting room, like he does whenever he performs well. He's in that waiting room now. So shall we bring him across?
Well, when he performs well as every time, so of course, let's bring him across and get the opportunity to speak to, well, the man who dominated once again, taking both race victories, Zoltan Vakoni, and I believe it was actually a Grand Slam. I'll have a look just quickly. Yes, he did take the fastest lap in every single. He took the fastest lap in every single session, whether it was the pole lap or the fastest lap of the race. He took race 1 and he took race 2. Zoltan, absolutely dominant. Talk us through how you did it.
Hello guys, yeah, it was planned as I said before. I really like the Sebring layouts, and I'm always competitive in there. So yeah, I'm very happy because almost I missed the whole race because of my PC. So glad to be here. Yeah, so the first race was awesome in terms of quality, in terms of race pace. In the every aspect of the race was fine. Also, the start was absolutely brilliant. So that's what I feel inside. Okay, there was a bit mistake in the first quali laps, but yeah, just I just want to push 100%, and yeah, it's over the limit. So that happens sometimes. But after that, the lap was there, and there was a gap. So yeah, it was very good. Yeah, for the second race and the second quali was a bit harder. Uh, yeah, everybody was more competitive in there. I guess everybody was like the normal layout more than the short layout. And yeah, in the start I was asleep a bit and I was not careful with the position, And yeah, I'm losing the position in the start already. And after that, just very intense and very awesome stuff with Tom, and that was a great drive from him too. So congratulations to him as well, because it was tough one, and I was sweat as I can. So yeah, it was great drive, and yeah, good battle. I think you enjoyed it as well from the outside, and yeah, it's so nice to be dominate the whole last week. So yeah, that's my feelings, and yeah, that's my opinion about this week. This Monday, sorry, not week.
Yeah, a very, very good drive from yourself, Zoltan, taking the final 2 race victories of the season. That now makes you an 8-time winner out of 12. So, just how good does that feel, having only not won 4 races of the season, which has been an incredible feat?
That's disappointing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was very good. So yeah, when I don't make big mistakes, I'm always in the top 3. But yeah, there was three times, I guess, where I'm doing stupid mistakes, and yeah, this is the lowest point of the season. So I need to improve on that still. But yeah, it's so good to winning eight tracks. I mean, 8 round. Yeah, that's amazing. Still, even with the ballast. So yeah, it's more hard. Yeah, I can say that it's not really easy to win with these ballast. So yeah, that's so good. And as you can see in the first race, the car was absolutely oversteady as hell because of the ballast. So yeah, I was over the limit on the setup as well. So I'm always trying to aim high and just make it. And yeah, most of the time in the season was absolutely do it, but some of the time, yeah, sometimes I missed opportunities or just bad lucks with the rain tires or something like that. So yeah, all in all, it's a very good season. So everybody can be proud. I mean, congratulations to everybody who was finishing in the top 3, even if not finishing in the top 3, just complete the whole season, because it's very good to racing there. And yeah, the whole racing community is so good in there, I guess. So yeah, good to be here.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough, and yeah, it is a very good community. You've run through all of my questions. You've gone through them with a tick list. So unless Max, you've got anything else, I think we'll let Zoltan go.
No, I've actually got one more for Zoltan, actually. You talked about the setup with how ballast works. Just describe to everybody at home how throughout the season, how difficult has the ballast been to adjust to, with, of course, making a setup and getting the car functioning in the way you want it to?
It's really difficult because it's depend really on the track. I mean, most of the time when, as you can see in the past, like Bahrain or just a technical circuit, that's hard to get there in pace because you can't just go lower on the rear wing or just gain some times in the corner entries, because the car was really unbalanced when you are racing with this ballast. I mean, some of the track there was a lot help because of that, because the braking distance are a bit, I think, shorter, or just for me, I don't know. But yeah, if somebody asks me how you can compromise with these ballasts, just go a bit more oversteery everywhere and just slide a bit more. But it's always a risk. I mean, there is always a risk, but it's even higher after that, because like the first race in Sebring now, 2 or 3 times I'm almost lost the car in the turn 1, and that's just the turn 1. And if you messed up this corner, you will out of the race. So every time just focused and keep it on track if you can. If you are not, just don't hit somebody, because it's not really nice thing. So that's my answer for that. I can't say more. I mean, that's my honest answer.
Well, thank you so much for this season, Zoltan. Even though you've dominated it, you've still made it very interesting indeed. Celebrate this 8th victory of the season as much as you can. Of course, the final one of the season as well. But thank you very much for joining us throughout the season, Zoltan. And we'll expect to hopefully hear from you in the future at any of the events we do here at GRDC.
Yes, if I have time, I will do 1 or 2 champion. I mean, 1 championship is okay. 2 is maybe a bit tough, but I mean, 1 championship for the next few weeks, or I don't know, when something is opened, I will be there. So we will meet again, I think, in there. So that's cool.
Been an absolute pleasure, Zoltan. So go and enjoy your evening, and thanks for the season.
Thank you for the season, and thank you for the whole season, the whole broadcasting thing, because that was very good and nice quality. So thank you guys also for the work in the whole season.
It's been a pleasure, Zoltan, to work with you as well. Go and enjoy your evening, and we shall potentially speak to you in the future.
Okay, goodbye, bye bye.
Right then, Joesph, I don't think anybody else is looking to have an interview with us here this evening, but it has been an absolute blast this season, hasn't it? And yeah, what has actually been your highlight of this? Or well, not thus far, but what's been your highlight of the season?
It's over now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's over,
but,
unfortunately.
Oh well, let's create another round next week. No, it was. I mean, it was a very good season. There was a bunch of highlighted moments. I think my favourite moment was when it really felt like there was somebody that was able to hold a candle to Zoltan. It was race 2 of round 1 of the season, and I think it was when Hendrik de Vries really held a candle to Zoltan, and we saw them scrapping fully on track around Le Mans. It was a very good race, and of course I know that's counting out the other 9 rounds of the season, and I know that was the one at the very start, but that's the one that sticks out in my mind to me.
Yeah, Le Mans, that started ourselves off with an absolute banger, and what really set up the rest of the season was actually, to correct you on Vries, unfortunately, no offense to you, De Vries, but it was Timmy Lettinen.
Oh, of course.
Yes, Mr.
Of
Lettinen in his Mustang around Le Mans, which could hold its tyres for so long, a bit like the BMW, and then fall off compared to the Aston Martin. But my highlight of the season, I think it's Robert Pure's win in Bahrain and also in Fiji as well. He made that switch to the Lexus when it was new to the game. It was completely unproven, and he went and won on his debut with it. So yeah, I think that was a very good moment for both Pure and Lexus. So yeah, it was a very good moment indeed. But I think that is it be all, Joesph. Is there any last words for you from the broadcast perspective?
It's just a thank you very much to not only you, Max, not only Craig, but to the viewers out there for providing the opportunity to broadcast this. Because of course, if we didn't have any viewers, it's very unlikely that it would run. So thank you very much, and keep an eye out for Wednesday when the champion is to be announced.
Yeah, make sure you keep an eye on to Wednesday. But yes, thank you, Craig. Thank you, everybody at home. It's been an absolute pleasure indeed. So thank you to both Coach Dave Delta and Driven Minds who make this season possible. If you want to listen to an interview we had with the leader of Driven Minds, make sure you check out the round 1 stream just before the race and qualifying. We spoke to him and we started the stream and started the season, so you can see what they are all about. A wonderful organisation helping marshals health. But that is going to be it from us all. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Coach Dave Delta. Thank you, Driven Minds. And also thank you, Driveline Media, for making this all possible and for it all to happen. All of these rounds streamed, guys, at home. But that is going to be it once and for all. We shall see you on Wednesday for the World Sprint Challenge. That is where you'll see who the champion is and they will be announced. Is it going to be De Vries, Ramsey, or will it be Zoltan Varkonyi? You'll have to wait till Wednesday to find that one out. But that is going to be all. Thank you all very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure this season. See you in the next one.